RPN, the Roddenberry Podcast Network.
Today's Daily Star Trek news is supported by listeners like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. Hello and welcome to your Daily Star Trek News from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. I'm Allison Pitt, and today is Thursday, August 13th, 2020. On today's show, Alex Kurtzman gives an update on Star Trek Discovery Season 4 and says Strange New Worlds will start filming next year. Doctor Who's 10th Doctor, David Tennant, wants to be in Star Trek, and it's all thanks to George Takei. Plus, I've got the weekend's virtual Trek events. All of that coming up next. If you've found yourself frustrated lately by the delays of big Hollywood projects due to COVID-19 restrictions, you are not alone. I'm looking at you, Black Widow and Mulan. But it sounds like despite the challenges that producers and creatives have faced while working from home, there might be something of a silver lining. Alex Kurtzman spoke to awards buzz website Gold Derby on Tuesday. Yes, the same interview in which he floated the idea of a Star Trek Short Treks musical episode. In the course of their discussion, he talked about his plans for future seasons of Star Trek, including all the series we already know about, and he even mentioned Section 31. According to comicbook.com, Kurtzman noted in the interview that the pandemic stay-at-home orders have actually helped Trek writers get ahead. We've been running all of our writers' rooms on Zoom, Kurtzman said, and the silver lining is that we've actually been able to get quite ahead on the scripts for upcoming seasons of Discovery and Picard and Strange New Worlds, which is going to be shooting next year, and Section 31. So let's recap. Upcoming seasons of Discovery is the closest we've gotten to an official announcement of the go-ahead for Star Trek Discovery Season 4, although I would note that it did turn up in a production weekly back in January, so it's hardly a secret at this point. Regarding Picard Season 2, we've already heard from other producers, notably Akiva Goldsman, that it's pretty deep in production, but pandemic restrictions are hampering it from progressing far beyond the writer's room. Strange New Worlds shooting next year is new news, but also vague news, since we already knew that a number of the series' stories are already set, and next year is a pretty broad time frame. And finally, wait, Section 31 is still a thing? Apparently so. One of the most promising things to come out of Kurtzman's Gold Derby interview was an encouraging update on how they're planning to eventually move back into physical production, once restrictions are eased. "We are planning to go back into production," Kurtzman said. "A lot of time has been taken coming up with a big plan for how the sets and the stages are going to be run that's still being iterated right now. Everybody's working on that really diligently because everybody wants to go back to work and nobody wants to do it in a way that's unsafe." Star Trek has been nominated for a total of 6 Emmy Awards this year in technical categories. The 2020 Primetime Emmy Awards will be hosted by Jimmy Kimmel and are currently scheduled to air September 20th on ABC. Scottish actor David Tennant is most well known for his role as the Doctor from 2005 to 2010 on the long-running BBC series Doctor Who. Lately, Tennant has been hosting his own podcast, David Tennant Does a Podcast With, which is set to go into its 2nd season. To promote the new season, Tennant hosted an AMA, or Ask Me Anything, session on Reddit, during which the actor expressed his interest in joining the Star Trek franchise. The AMA session has gathered more than 8,400 comments, and Reddit users asked Tennant a wide range of questions, from his thoughts on acting and his career to how he prefers to have a Scotch egg prepared, and everything in between. But then someone asked Tennant if there was a franchise on his bucket list of acting projects that he'd like to cross off. Tennant replied, "Star Trek would be great. After talking to George Takei for the podcast, I've got a bit immersed in it." Now, if David Tennant were to join Star Trek as a crossover actor from Doctor Who, he would become the 34th person to have acted in both franchises. According to Memory Alpha, some of the 33 actors who have already done so include Nana Visitor, John Delancey, Noel Clarke, David Warner, and Simon Pegg. Now, David Tennant does already have one connection to Star Trek, having previously shared both stage and screen with Star Trek legend Sir Patrick Stewart in the Royal Shakespeare Company production of Hamlet in 2008, and the subsequent 2009 television movie, also from the Royal Shakespeare Company. Tennant held the title role, and Stewart joined the cast in the roles of Claudius and the Ghost. Just think about it. He could play Lieutenant Tennant. I've got the weekend's online events here in just a moment, but first, a word from me. Did you know that you can get all of today's stories delivered straight to you every weekday? Just sign up for the Daily Star Trek newsletter. In it, you can browse the headlines, read the full stories, or share them directly to your favorite social networks. It's up to you. One thing that's for sure, though, you'll never be out of touch with the biggest Star Trek news stories of the day. To sign up today, just head to dailystartreknews.com/contact. All you need is your email address, and we'll never sell it on to anyone else. That's dailystartreknews.com/contact. And a big thanks to you for supporting this show. And now it's Blur's Day, the 12th of March, and you know what that means: more virtual Star Trek events. And listen, for some reason, everybody seems to be having their events today. So clear your schedules and find someplace comfy to sit because you're going to be busy. First up, I told you about this yesterday, but just a quick reminder, George Takei is helping the U.S. Postal Service dedicate a new set of stamps to Japanese sculptor Ruth Asawa. That's this afternoon, Thursday, August 13th, at 1:30 p.m. Eastern on the USPS Facebook or Twitter pages. To find out more about how to participate, head to usps.com/Asawa stamps. Now, pretty much straight after the stamp dedication ceremony, flip over to ReedPop's METAVERSE Con for a Star Trek Lower Decks panel, which starts at 2:45 p.m. Eastern and runs for 45 minutes. You can find out more about the METAVERSE Con, which is going on all weekend, at findthemetaverse.com. Next up, support one of our fellow Roddenberry Podcast Network brethren, Sue Kissenweather from Women at Warp, as she takes part in a virtual panel put on by the American Sci-Fi Classics track at DragonCon. The panel will be discussing the political nature of science fiction and why fans seem to forget the political nature of classic science fiction shows. That panel takes place from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. Head over there and subscribe to American Sci-Fi Classics so you don't miss out. Or find the DragonCon American Sci-Fi Classics track on Facebook for more information. Finally, on Friday, the Star Trek Picard crew will be joining ReedPop Metaverse for their own Q&A panel. Evan Evagora, Issa Briones, and Michelle Hurd are expected to attend. Like the Lower Decks Q&A, it's free to attend this one, but you can also upgrade and purchase a 2-minute virtual meet and greet or a personalized video message. For more information, once again, head to findthemetaverse.com. Now, if you have an online event or a gathering that you'd like for me to promote on the show, then please let me know. How are you getting together with your fellow Trekkies without leaving the house? Well, that's it for today's Daily Star Trek news from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. Don't forget to check out the other great shows on the network at podcasts.roddenberry.com. Daily Star Trek News is produced by me, Allison Pitt, with selected stories by Chris Peterson. We're supported by people like you through Patreon. Find out how you can add your support at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. Sign up for the Daily Star Trek newsletter at dailystartreknews.com/contact. Get all the day's Star Trek news delivered straight to your inbox every weekday morning. And if email's not your thing, then don't forget to follow Daily Star Trek News on social media. We're at Daily Trek News on Twitter and Instagram. I'm back tomorrow with more of the Star Trek news you need to know and the answer to this week's trivia. I'm Allison Pitt. Live long and prosper.
podcast.roddenberry.com, the Roddenberry Podcast Network.